Tommy Best, and you're listening to today's Boondoggle.
This is Mark Metcalf, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio.
You are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio. Yes, Kato Kalin listens to this all the time.
Welcome to today's Boondoggle. Now, here's your host. Incarceration, America's rock, metal, and tattoo festival with Slipknot. Falling in Reverse. Five Finger Death Punch. Plus Marilyn Manson, 3 Days Grace, Beartooth, Knocked Loose, Lamb of God, Parkway Drive, I Prevail, In This Moment, and so many more. Report to the Ohio State Reformatory on July 18th through 20th, 2025 to face your sentencing. 3 days of rock, tattoos, and the return of the Haunted Blood Prison. Passes for Incarceration are on sale now at incarceration.com. Zombified.
What's going on, everybody? It's Bill Bailey with today's Boondoggle, and real excited to be talking to Sergio from the band Necrolisis. Did I get it right? Did I do it right?
You got it right.
All right. I only had one practice before we went on. I tried to roll the R or whatever, but yeah, usually excited to be talking about. I'm been a fan of Costa Rica. I didn't know too much about its metal scene, so I want to talk a little bit about that. But usually when I have a guest on for the first time, I like to know, what did you originally want to be when you grew up?
Well, I'll be honest. I think it's going to sound geeky, but I wanted to do something related with chemistry. So I always heard the word chemical engineer. And that's what I actually end up doing in college. But to be honest, I probably do nothing related to chemical engineering right now.
No, it's cool, man. I've had a couple guys from bands I've interviewed that wanted to be marine biologists and stuff like that. And they do all kinds of like cool things. So that's cool. What was the, what was it, that started leading you into music? Like, who were some of your early influences as a kid?
So I guess I'm gonna start by saying that I had a surgery on one of my hips when I was a kid, like 11 years old, and I had to stay over a month in bed, in order for the surgery to went through, right? All the doing, just healing and stuff, right? And that's when I started listening to music, right? It was around maybe 97 or so, because I'm actually 40 years, just in case. And I probably started with the easygoing stuff, I guess, like Metallica, right? I probably, because around that time, probably, I think maybe Reload or Load was probably what the album that they had released. So I probably started with the easy stuff first, right? And of course, as it happens probably to many people, you start knowing people around the scene and people who start introducing you to other cool music. I remember, when I first started high school, I started, listening to other stuff, underground stuff. And back in the day, even though it was 97, you could still, people used to collect tapes, right? People still do, right? But
yeah,
even around that time, tapes were still a thing, right? People would do copies and just lend them to one another and hey, listen to this thing. So I started pretty much with Metallica, then probably jumped to some Sepultura. And I would say later I started, collecting my own music, going with other stuff, the usual Exodus, Bonded by Blood, Testament. Those were probably my early influences, or the stuff that I was listening at first.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of tough. You got to stay in bed and heal, from a hip surgery, and then you jumping into thrash music. It's hard to sit still, huh?
Yeah, definitely.
But
Yeah.
but then after you recovered and you got up and out, when was it that as your musical taste grew, when was it that you started playing yourself?
So I started playing when I was 15 years old. I started first, learning classical guitar, right? I started with some classical music first, and I did that maybe for 2 years. At the same time, I bought my first electric guitar maybe the year after that, and I started, just playing by ear, listening to music, trying to get the riffs that I was listening at the time. And I think maybe 2 years after I first started, that's when I met some friends, and that's when we started the band back then. I was probably around, uh, what can I say, maybe 2001 or so. No, 2002 actually. That's more or less the official date when we started.
Nice. And what was like the music scene like growing up?
So Costa Rica has had a metal scene from quite a long time. I wouldn't say it started. They definitely started before we came into the scene, right? There have been bands like I can name a few, maybe at least on the thrash scene, Mantra. That was a one of the early metal bands. Other bands as well, similar bands. Um, and when we came into the scene, there was already a big heavy metal, black metal scene already, right? There were some bands that were playing locally, and it's funny because if you probably know, some countries like Chile, for example, or Argentina or Mexico, they have big metal scenes, right? Very established, and probably those metal scenes started around more or less the 80s, same time as the US, right? Because of the influence and bands actually touring to those countries. Now, Costa Rica being the small country that it is, we actually started getting, big bands to include us on tours, maybe around 2010 or so. Because I think that the first big name that actually played in Costa Rica, the first big band was probably Iron Maiden, and it was a huge event just because of that, right? There
Yeah.
were other bands. Don't get me wrong, other bands as well. We got I think before that we got some bands like Creator, Destruction, other thrash metal bands, death metal bands as well. A lot of black metal, but probably the most one of the biggest was definitely Iron Maiden around 2009.
Hmm.
But we did got some bands before that, but as I said, it wasn't really probably after 2000 or so. So that's how small scene was at the very beginning. So bands started touring after that.
Gotcha. Yeah, see, I'm retired Navy, and I've talked to a lot of veteran friends, and a lot of them like expatriate or whatever down to Costa Rica. They all like live in retirement down there. I hear there's a big U.S. veteran community down there, but now I'm even more interested in checking it out myself, so I could still be involved in the metal scene.
Yeah, definitely.
And then when was it that you first started performing then with Necrolisis?
Well, as I said, we started around 2002, and we our first gig was at a high school event or something like that, and we actually got kicked off. We actually got kicked out because there was a huge mosh pit, and the teacher starting just getting everything disconnected. So it was kind of funny, in
Your
fact.
first riot.
Yeah. But after that, we started doing some small gigs around the town that we lived in, and I think we actually recorded our first demo around 2005, 2006, more or less. It was home recording, but it was pretty decent for the time. And that's how
Yeah.
we started actually, doing gigs, in around the country, which, Costa Rica is a very small country, so it's not a big deal, but at least for the scene was nice.
Yeah, yeah. Now, what was you guys started. Well, first of all, for the audience, what's the inspiration behind the name?
Um, I think at the very beginning when we started looking for a name, to be honest, we even grabbed a dictionary to see what the hell we could grab, whatever, because we didn't know what exactly we wanted to. We wanted to look for something nice and spooky, but we weren't sure, right? And it wasn't like back then with the internet, right, where you could actually
Yeah.
Google something and get, what's the meaning of this? So we actually thought, well, yeah, something with necro, because of death. And I think we actually came up with the word necrolysis or necrolysis. We didn't know it actually existed, as a word, but we actually just looked grabbed the name, started using it, and that's how we came up. It came up.
Nice. And then what as you guys as you were saying, you guys kind of made your own demo, and then you would kind of uh, get that out in the area, so the clubs to try and get into the clubs to start
Yeah,
playing
yeah,
out.
that was pretty much, back in 2006. And people probably, people who are into home recording stuff, probably remember, back in the day, I think there wasn't that many recording software, right, available, not even for free. And the ones that were probably free, it wasn't that good, right? So we actually got the right software and the right equipment. I remember we even got a mixer, and that's how we actually recorded the drum, by the way. So we actually recorded the drum with an old mixer, a couple of microphones, and we recorded the drum in one single track. So it wasn't like we had separate tracks to tweak the different instruments of the drum. We actually ended up, just putting the drum into a whole track. And then we recorded the guitars and bass and the voiceover, right? And that's what basically that's what we basically created our you could say demo EP. And we actually just burned that to CDs, did some cool layout, and started distributing, selling it actually, but distributing among friends and among different stores. And that's how we actually started getting more attention, right?
Gotcha. And then as your name started growing out there, I mean that this was over 10 years ago and stuff. Like how is the scene evolved since you guys started?
Well, it's been quite a while. And before I answer that question, because many people might not know this, but we first started in 2006. And after that we did some split cities with other bands, maybe around 2010, 2011. I actually left the band in 2011, more or less, and I was absent for like 15, 17 years up until now. We're now, I'm back again, actually. So ever since we started, and from now on, the scene definitely has changed a lot. It has developed into a more, I would say, consolidated scene. Costa Rica, even a small country as it is, we get a lot of gigs, from time to time. I mean, I've been able to go to some myself, but we get some decent thrash metal bands that like to include Costa Rica in their Latin American tours, death metal bands, black metal bands, and even though I wouldn't say venues have I wouldn't say that there are more venues now than then, but definitely since the scene has grew, it's it's probably more easy to book, different kinds of metal events in Costa Rica.
Gotcha. Now, I wanted to talk a little bit about the album too. Like the album Templo de Fraude. Is that
Templo de Fraude, yeah, it's a temple of
Fraude?
fraud. Yeah,
Temple. Now, what's that translated to?
translated it's temple of fraud.
Temple of Fraud. And
Yeah.
then that just got released, and this is like your first now release since you've come back to the band.
Yeah, yeah. So it's funny because, like I said, we started with the EP in 2006. We then did a couple of split cities, like in 2010 or more or less. Um, we did one with a Canadian band that it's no longer around, Demon Throne. That split city was done with uh, with this Japanese. I'm trying to remember right now. um, well, anyway, we did a split city with those guys. We did also a three-way split city with other bands back in around the same date. And in 2011, that's when I left the band. I left the band, and like 2 years ago, the original bassist, contacted me and told me, hey, you want to get with the band again? Maybe let's try to do what we actually because the album, the long play album, that's something that we actually that it actually deserved to be recorded, right? I mean, it was something that we put up, at least myself, since I had left the band. And I said, yeah, let's get the band again. Let's get let's start rehearsing again. Let's start getting some gigs, and let's set the objective to record the full album. And that's what we did, right? We returned again, in 2021, right after the pandemic ended. And yeah, we actually last year we recorded the whole thing and released it with Witches Brew on March this year.
Gotcha. Yeah, I wanted to ask you, like, what's it been like connecting and working with Witches Brew?
Well, it was nice because when we finished the whole thing, we actually we recorded the album, and we always said, hey, we have two options, right? We can either produce the whole thing ourselves, invest our own money on it and see how we can distribute it, or we can actually send the recording away and see who's interested, maybe in releasing something, right? And we started that process of looking for a label around last year November, and I think we actually, it was like 2 months or so. We sent the stuff to many different labels to see who was interested, right? And we're almost giving up at some time, but then we got the answer back from Cheryl from Witches Brew, and she said she was very interested with in releasing the whole thing, and yeah, that's how we got in contact with her, with
Nice.
Cheryl from Witches Brew.
And then, like, going back to the album, like, you finally, you say you went from like the demos that you self-recorded to, get your name out there to play the scene. As we were saying, like, this was before internet. Now technology and everything has, changed so much. Coming back now, a lot of these songs from back in the day, or are these all new original?
So we actually decided to record four of the old songs that were around the previous recordings, and we also incorporated four new songs. So the whole
Okay.
thing is 8 songs plus the intro song. You could say 9 tracks basically, and it's four old ones and four new ones.
And how's it been like, re-recording those now with today's technology? And then you guys have grown as musicians now as
yeah,
well
definitely.
since then.
Yeah, it was nice. It was nice because as a musician, when I used to listen to those old recordings, and I listened to my old solos and maybe stuff that we recorded back then. I'm always like, hey, you know what? It would be nice to get that recorded the way that I play it now, and also the way that it sounds in my head, right? Because you actually have an idea of what your sound should be, right? And it was nice because we actually what we did was, let's pick four of the old songs. Let's pick one from each recording plus one. Well, in fact, yeah. We picked one song from each recording, and actually, yeah, and we said, yeah, let's record those, and we did, and yeah, that's part of the new album basically, and with the sound that at least we are all proud to share, right?
Nice. And then what was the single Terror y Valencia?
Terror y violencia. That would be translated as terror and violence.
Terror and Violence. What was that? Is that a new one, or is that from one of the old ones?
That's actually a new one, and that's an interesting song because it was actually written mostly by our new drummer. So back in the day when we started, we were Julio Diaz, who was the original drummer, with me, my brother, who was the second guitar, and Tomas Campos, who was the bassist. When we got back now in 2021, it was only Tomas the bassist and me plus a new drummer, friend of ours from back in the day, but he joined the band and helped us with the recording, and he's now a member of the band as well. But he also wrote that song. So yeah, that song, Terror y Violencia, Terror and Violence, is basically a song that Heiner, our drummer, wrote mostly. Most of the riffs are his. In fact, I probably did maybe a couple of arrangements, but yeah, it's mostly Heiner. The credits to him.
Gotcha. And then with going back to the name of the album, what was the the inspiration or the message you're sending with? I mean, is the entire album even though you're using like 4 old songs and 4 new songs, is the message still the same? Does it all flow together?
It's funny because Templo de Fraude, the name of the album, it's actually a song in the album as well. Temple of Fraud, translated Temple of Fraud, and that song was actually released, and now that I remember, in another split CD that we did with another band back in the day. Now, as you can brought by the name Templo de Fraude or Temple of Fraud, it's basically a criticism of religion, right? And specifically, institutionalized. I'm sorry, big religion, so to speak. The whole thing, right? The whole apparatus. And so that's what basically, when we decided to record this album, we were looking for a song, maybe, because we wanted to make one of the songs and pick one of the songs for the album name. And I think that song was one that we decided, hey, you know what, it would be interesting to use this specific song as the album name, and as you probably noticed, that's where the front cover comes from, right? The temple in flames and our mascot doing, slaughtering a priest with a chainsaw. So yeah, that's pretty much
like
the theme, right?
The Revenge of the Inquisition or something like that. I don't.
Yeah, definitely. And it's nice because one of the things that I actually liked about working with Cheryl from Witches Brew is that even though we sing in Spanish, that's basically how we started, and even though we did that, she asked us, hey, you know what, it would be nice to have the lyrics translated as part of the booklet, right, in the album, right? And we thought it was great, a great idea because many people will probably listen to the music and don't necessarily care if it's in Spanish or in English. But if you're the kind of person that likes to, go deeper into the meaning of songs and what the band was inspired when writing them, if you get the original CD, you can actually read the lyrics in English, translate it in English, and get a sense of what we are trying to convey with each of the songs. And Templo de Fraude, that's basically, a criticism of religion.
Yeah, and I'm old school like that too. So I like her way of thinking. Like I would love to just take an album, the artwork, put the album on, play it front to back, put the headphones on, go on the journey, enjoy the art, read the lyrics, and go on the journey with the band.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's what we were looking for when we were looking for a label. I mean, um, the songs are, in any case, the songs are available on Spotify because nowadays everyone does it,
yeah,
right? It's what you have to do right now. But one of the nice things about the metal scene is that we still appreciate the physical material, right? We still like
yeah,
going through the album, going through the booklets, and that was the reason why we wanted to do something like that. And we were lucky to get Witches Brew to help us with that. And we're proud of the record, and then, as I said, if you are into lyrics and going through the whole thing, yeah, it's something that you get as an extra, when you get the
nice,
physical recording.
nice, nice. And I wanted to ask another track that I enjoyed, track 4, Rebellion en el Maghreb. Maghreb?
Rebelión en el Maghreb, rebellion in the Maghreb, I guess that's how you can translate it.
What was like the message behind that song?
So that song, for the people who haven't listened to the recording, that's actually an instrumental song, right? So there's no lyrics in that. So anyway, but when I wrote that song, it was mostly inspired back in if you remember, maybe around, was it 2012 or so, when this North African dictatorships in Morocco and Egypt were falling because people were going on to the streets rioting. That's pretty much what that's inspired.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you were like, this is it. If there was a background music for that, this is what it would be, pretty much.
That's pretty much what inspired me, and it was nice,
Nice.
maybe at least back at the time it happened, people really thought that they could change those countries and those situations. I think it's now pretty much the same, maybe different dude in power, but at least back in
Yeah.
the day, it was a huge event, right? So it was nice.
Yeah, yeah, and it's nice. I mean, music's always been about rebellion anyway. So it's like
Yeah.
good to I think with everything that we've been going, not going through as a global citizens, especially like you said, coming in after the pandemic and everything, it's like it's got to come a time where it's like we the people have to, it's always us versus like the elite, and we have to have a soundtrack to motivate us these days. So
Yeah,
keep writing it.
and definitely metal is the soundtrack for that. So yeah, that was the inspiration behind that instrumental track number 4.
Nice. Now with the album just coming out, how's the reception been so far?
Well, it's nice. It's funny because I can only talk by our experience locally in Costa Rica because we're actually the ones who are selling the album locally. It's been nice because many people like the band, but when I actually left the band, you know, the band didn't. My former bandmates, I guess, they were still doing gigs, but there wasn't ever a there was no full album, right? There were some recordings, but there was no full album. Now, when I returned and we actually decided to get the band going again, we recorded this album, and a lot of the fans from back in the day, they were very, very, happy to have finally a recording for the band. Because the recording more or less feels like it's like something that we needed to do. We owe that to ourselves. It was an old debt with ourselves, so to speak, and that's what a lot of people felt as well. A lot of fans from Costa Rica felt, hey man, it would have been nice before you left or before Necrolisis went down, to had a full recording. Well, now we have it, so it's
Nice.
been really nice. And I guess Cheryl can probably speak to the reception, out of Costa Rica. But as a funny story, we actually had a U.S. fan from Maine, I believe, who wrote us to tell us, hey man, I bought the record and I have it actually with me, and and I love it, and it's nice.
Yeah.
We probably have a lot of people that like the album, out of Costa Rica, and it's nice.
Nice. Now, is there any plans to like any kind of like touring or support, go out and support the release?
Yeah. So maybe some people don't know it, but I'm actually right now I'm speaking from Indianapolis, Indiana. I'm actually living here temporarily. I'm gonna be here probably until the end of December. So right now we're not doing any gigs because I'm actually out of Costa Rica. But when I return, we're gonna do definitely some touring for the album, and the idea is to actually start looking for gigs out of Costa Rica. You know, whatever we can do to travel and have some nice gigs outside of Costa Rica. That's the next objective of the band.
Nice. Are you up here networking for some gigs in the States?
Well, we do have some friends over at the States who have told us, hey, as soon as you're ready to gig, let's get something going. I think we have some
Nice.
friends, good friends, in up in that area of New England and Maryland. So who knows? Maybe we'll be able to do some gigs over there. Well, yeah.
We got a pretty good thrash metal scene here still in the Cleveland area too. So
Yeah,
look
that's what I've
around.
heard as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've been some nice gigs over here at Indianapolis, and I've heard, yeah, that the Cleveland scene is still good.
Yeah.
So yeah, it would be nice to get some chance to do something over there for sure.
Nice. And then like for fans out there that may be hearing about you guys for the first time and want to support you and maybe network to get you, help you with some dates here, or just pick up the album and, like you said, read the lyrics and go on the journey with you guys, where would you send them?
Well, if you want to get the album, I think definitely I would send you to Witch's Brew. I don't know if you can get the link or something, or links for Witch's Brew store. But if you want to get the album, you can definitely go search for Witch's Brew. I think Witch's Brew has a Bandcamp, so you can actually buy it through the Bandcamp store over there. And if you were to, well, the band actually, we made some T-shirts with the front cover of the album. So if you're interested, we don't have that many much right now, but I think we have probably some mediums and large. So if you like the album cover and you want to get a T-shirt, we can definitely work out something to get that T-shirt to you. I know one guy actually ordered one T-shirt from the States, and we sent it out from Costa Rica, and it wasn't that expensive, you know. So we can definitely do work out something out as well. Um, I think that the postal service is still decent to a certain extent, so you'll
Yeah.
definitely get it. Maybe
Nice.
2 weeks after getting in contact with us, but yeah, we can definitely work something out.
Well, I think the food's still better down there in South America that people can fit in the mediums and larges. Still, up here in the States, it might be a tougher sell.
Well, yeah, that's true, and it's funny because when we made the T-shirts, we were trying to figure out how many T-shirts, how many sizes, and we just did random amounts, estimating what the sizes would be, and I think we probably underestimated the fact that most of metalheads around Costa Rica are like are probably on their 30s, 40s, and we probably made the t-shirt sizes thinking back when we were at in our 20s, right? So you're right. That's probably we should
Yeah.
have probably ordered some extra XLs and XXLs as well.
Well, no, I
But
was
we have
just
something.
yeah, I was just making fun of the food system up here in the States, man. But yeah,
Well,
as we get
yeah.
older, it's a lot tougher, to shed those extra pounds.
Yeah, definitely.
And then, before we get ready and wrap up, I wanted to ask you, a couple questions I normally ask the guests that I have on. You talked a little bit about some of your influences when you were healing, in the hospital bed and getting first exposed to music. But who are your top three musical artists you're listening to today?
Um, well, I would definitely have to mention Iron Angel. I still listen to Iron Angel a lot. I mean, I know that they haven't had any new albums recently, and I think their frontman actually passed away recently. So but yeah, Iron Angel is one of my favorite bands. German speed metal. That's definitely one of the things that I'm listening a lot these days. And one of the bands that I've also come around that I like a lot, Power Trip. Definitely nice band. And now that they're actually touring again with a new vocalist. That's definitely something that, if I'm lucky, I'll be able to catch while I'm here in the US. So I would mention those two bands. There are definitely other stuff that I listen. Well, I actually have a Black Sabbath T-shirt, so I should probably say I'm listening to a lot of stoner and doom these days for some
Nice.
reason. I wasn't that much into stoner rock and doom metal back when I was in high school and younger, but for some reason I've started to listening. I've started listening to more stoner and doom metal these days, and I've loved it a lot. So
Nice.
yeah.
And then who are three people who've inspired you and you can credit for making you the person you are today?
Well, I would definitely have to say, I have some family members, some cousins that have influenced me. I would definitely say I have an uncle who has inspired me to become the person that I am. I would definitely mention some school, high school teachers. I mean, I don't know if it makes sense for me to give names, but I would probably say, if we're talking about life and not necessarily music, I would say some friends and family. But if it's music, I can name some influences, right? Some good
Well,
musicians.
it's cool because like I've had people like mention like a teacher they had and whatever. Give them a shout out, man, because it's like it's cool because you don't know when who you're going to influence in life and what kind of impact something you say or do could have on somebody. And I think those people definitely deserve their props, you
Well,
know?
you know what? Now you mentioned, I do have a teacher. Because when I was little, I was going to this bilingual high school in Costa Rica, and I remember I had this teacher who was from, I believe, he's probably California, or I don't know where is he living right now, but he was a school teacher down in Costa Rica when I was in school, and his name is Cy Cole. And man, yeah, Mr. Cole, he was one of my greatest school teachers. I would probably credit a lot to that man
Yeah, I love
for
hearing
sure.
stories like that. That's cool because it's like, I mean, it seems like we live in a day and age where it's just like, a lot of us are coming up, or the new generation is just like me, and it's just like I love the old school, that people that gave back, and we need to bring that back. So I think that's inspirational to hear, those types of stories, that there's somebody that you didn't think, was would be so impactful. It's something, especially as we're growing up. Maybe we didn't get it at home, and there was somebody outside that really, like, yeah, hey, keep doing that music thing or whatever, or,
Well,
motivated you to get where you're at.
it's interesting because I think the reason why I remember him a lot is because I was this kid in school who was, I don't know, I don't know if I actually sucked at math or something, but I had probably this curiosity that he noticed, and he saw some potential, and I remember him telling me one time, "Hey, you know what? You really are a good mathematician. You should probably exploit more that ability." And it's funny because music, people maybe don't know it, or don't necessarily know it, but music has, when you write music, it has a lot of logic into it,
Yeah.
and I think part I guess the geeky part of me, gets really, I mean, I really like to use, a lot of logic and a lot of, logical thinking into writing music. I guess that's something that I would definitely credit to that teacher for sure.
Awesome. And then going back to like childhood, before you had to have hip surgery and everything, what was like one of your favorite toys?
You know what? I was really a fan of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles when I was a
Nice.
kid. I mean, my favorite toys were actually the four turtles, Donatello, Leonardo, Michelangelo, and Raphael. If I have to, mention who were my, or what was what was what was my favorite show when I was a kid, that was definitely it. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I was a huge fan. I mean, of the video games in Nintendo, the toys, the cartoon. Yeah, I would probably credit that, or say yeah, that's definitely one of my favorite toys, favorite shows as well.
Nice, nice. I've had other musicians on it that was their, some of their favorites. That's cool, man. I like going back to like where it started. Our creativity started as kids, before either the world sabotages it or whatever. When we had our imagination and everything.
Yeah, yeah, and interesting because back in the day, those shows like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Transformers. One of the things that it's interesting is they used to have good soundtracks, right? You could actually listen to some, for example, Transformers. I mean, the movie even has this what is it, the name, Lion, this band that actually did the Transformers theme for that Transformers movie, the '89 movie, or something like that. And it's nice because music used to be a very important part of our lives back then. It still is, I guess, but
Yeah.
creativity in that regard was important.
Yeah, definitely. Well, yeah, Sergio, man, I really appreciate your time and talking with you. It was a good conversation. Now, like I know you said where they could go to pick up the album if they want, but if people want to follow like the band and what they're up to and any updates with the band, where would you send them?
Oh, if you're gonna get in touch with us, I would say we can definitely you can definitely follow us on our Instagram page. Let me just get the name right. It's actually Necrolisis dot cr. And let me just see if it's actually a dot or dash, but oh no, it's actually a dash. So it's Necrolisis dash cr, and just make
Okay,
sure to write every I in Necrolisis as an I. Just
gotcha. Awesome. Well, hey, Sergio, thanks a lot for your time, man. It was good talking with you, and much success with the album.
yeah, thanks for the invitation as well, and hopefully we can someday we can run into each other in Cleveland for sure.
Yeah, man, you guys got to check out the Rock Hall too.
Yeah, that would be great.
All right, take care.
Yeah, you too. Take care.